I've been living in China for 10 years and now I'm leaving, and I figured that it probably is the best time to give you some advice on what you could do if you're moving to China. There's a lot of things that are not said on internet, and if you're planning on moving here or just traveling, there are a couple things that will make your travel and your life easier here. So stick around for the video, and if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. So this includes the best way to find an apartment here, the most efficient way to travel around, the apps that you must have when you move here, and where are the best spots, because only if you've been here for 10 years you actually know where to go. There are so many things I wish I had known before moving here, and I had to learn on the way, and these are not things that you'll find on websites. So this, by the way, this is a 10 years aged white tea from a tea place that just nearly opened near my place. That's also the first advice that I would give you if you're looking for coffee places. The best place to find all those spots is either on Dianping, which is the equivalent of Yelp, or you can also search on xoxo, which is the equivalent of Instagram here. That is the best way to find all the trendy spots, all the nearly open spots. Locals are pretty efficient when it comes to sharing the information with the others, and thankfully they are, because without them I wouldn't be able to find these places. If you're looking for keeping yourself updated to what's new and trendy, and even if you don't speak very good Chinese or don't read the Chinese language, it's actually totally fine. What I do, I use translator, and I use the word that I want to translate, such as like cafe or cute cafe or Shanghai cafe, and I use a translator, I copy paste, and then from that you can see from the photos and the videos that people are posting, especially on Dianping, they always pin the address, and then from the address you can put the location on your Apple Maps or Google Maps, and voila, this is how you find the places. They also have tutorials on how to take the best pictures in the city. Anyway, I just love these two apps. The more you use it, the more the UI is actually very easy, and then it just becomes muscle memory. So at first it might be daunting, but trust me, it will be worth it. Don't use Google because it's useless here. You obviously have some apps that are in English, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend them because a lot of small places, they're not necessarily on the English apps. Instagram doesn't have enough because most of the locals are using the local apps. So I will definitely suggest you to get into it and to try it out. All right, on to the next topic. Let's go. By the way, I hope you like this kind of format. I wanted to show you a little bit of my area, and this is, I don't know if I mentioned it in the video, but we are currently in Columbia Circle, which is an old residential area that has been revamped and renovated and transformed into this place where you can come for coffee, tea. There's also some shops. Sadly, you cannot swim into the pool. I think if you're moving here for long term, you might want to hire an IE. You'll see that living in Shanghai, it's signing for a hectic life. And so it could be very handy if you hired an IE. An IE stands for auntie, and we call the helper here in China aunties. So I've had my IE now for many years, and she comes once a week. You have full day IEs, part-time IEs. You also have IEs that you can just hire for a couple hours a week. Another thing that I think is very useful, especially when it comes to work, is to be very mindful of the cross-cultural differences and remain open, because you might work a certain way in your home country, but the working style here is completely different. Be ready to handle a lot of things at the last minute, and I think this is what it comes with the lifestyle here when you work here, is that you constantly have to adapt. When it comes to your contract also, one of the feedback that I get a lot from newcomers is that when they sign the contract from abroad, they're realizing that they're being underpaid compared to what the actual market pays to foreigners here. If you're planning on working here, make your research. What's the average salary in your industry for foreigners working in Shanghai? The salary is not going to be the same from one city to another, but in here I can only tell you for Shanghai, one of the most common cases here is that you move here, you're thinking you're getting a decent salary and that you're about to have great advantages, and then after living here for a year, you didn't know that you could have gotten much more and better advantages. So really make your research and make sure that terms in your contract are safe for you and that there isn't any hidden conditions just in case you don't want to stay anymore, in case something happens. We never know, but I would say just be very mindful. A company that will hire a foreigner will provide an English contract, but I must say that legally speaking, the English contract doesn't abide to Chinese law. It's a representation. So if you can get a translation of the Chinese one, just to be sure, the contract that will be sent to the bureau, to the labor bureau, will be the Chinese one and not the English one, which makes sense, obviously, because you are in China. So it makes sense that when you get to handle bureaucracy here, everything in Chinese. If your contract is bilingual, that's perfect. The English contract is just here as a reference. It's supposed to reflect the translation, but you might want to have a look at the Chinese one just in case. This is something that I wish I had known, because in my first few years here, I didn't know about that. And there were things that were in my contracts and everything. So that was problematic, but I've learned from my mistakes. And I hope that this will be very useful for you. If they are used to hire foreigners, the visa process will be much smoother. But if it is the first time or if it's a startup, things might get complicated on the way. And I'm sure you don't want to go through that stress when you move here. So I will definitely suggest you to find a place that also knows how to handle the visa situation, the bureaucracy, and all these things. I'm speaking from a person who went through a lot of visa issues and visa run, and I won't say that I got all the scenario, but I had a lot of bad scenario. This whole video is really about sharing my advices and sharing my experience living here, but I might forget some things. So if I am, feel free to let me know and I'll be happy to chat with you over the comments. All right, I think that's about it regarding work. How about we move to the next location? Let's go. The next topic that I want to talk about, and I think it's definitely the most important one, is regarding when you're moving to a new place. Voice of Sabrina here, by the way. I lost the audio from this video, so I'm speaking as a voice. Anyway, what I wanted to share is that when you're looking to move to a new place and you're moving to a new country, you're obviously looking for an apartment. So you go on websites, you find a place that you like, you see a price, and you're assuming that the terms and conditions of this place is what it is, and you end up accepting, because back in my home country we don't negotiate for rents normally, right? One of the things that I absolutely recommend and that I wish I had known when I moved to China is actually to negotiate. You need to negotiate, because this is how you will actually get better deals. Most of the time, the apartments that you find online that are English friendly, they are also higher in price compared to the locals. There are multiple reasons here for that. Because of that reason, actually, even locals do negotiate their rents when it comes to moving to a new place. I'll give you the example of my current apartment. I used to pay for my apartment $12,000, and I signed up a contract for 2 years, which is also my next advice. If you're planning on staying in Shanghai more than 1 year, or you're unsure if you're staying for 2 years, I will still recommend you to make a 2-year contract with the term of, if you're moving out, you can just find a replacement for your lease, and then you can just simply move out whenever you feel like it, as long as you find a replacement for your lease. But when you do a 2-year contract, then your rent won't have to go up the next year. Sure, it's a 2-year engagement, but at the same time, that's also what I like about living here, is that even if you have a 1-year contract, as long as you have a verbal and written agreement, because you have to make sure that everything is well written, then you can always get out of your lease a way or another. Secondly, when I say negotiate, I mean negotiating the price of your rent. How often do you want to pay your rent? And also, when exactly do you want to pay your rent? Some agents and some landlord would ask you to pay every 3 months, but it's not convenient for your budget to pay your rent every 3 months, because that's a lot of money to take out. So you can always negotiate that part. Same as the deposit, you can always negotiate the deposit, asking if you want a 1-month deposit, 2-month deposit. Make sure to insist, and trust me, you will get the lowest price possible. Make sure that there isn't any hidden fees, such as management fees, that are unnecessary, because it does happen sometimes. I would also suggest you to always have a reach of the actual landlord. It is good sometimes to go through an agent, but always make sure that in the end, the agent is your final contact, because it will always be easier to speak directly to the landlord than a third party. Lastly, when it comes to looking for apartment in Shanghai, the go-to place used to be this website called Smart Shanghai, but things have evolved a lot since then, and I wouldn't actually recommend this place anymore when it comes to looking for an apartment. I will actually suggest you to either download the app Wealthy, where you can find a tons of affordable apartments that are sometimes directly to landlord, and also group chats. If you're already on WeChat, feel free to ask people around for group chat about housing and apartment. There are a ton of those. If you're looking for some of the housing's apartment, let me know in the comment. I can try to find a way to send them to you. But yes, housing group chats and mini programs and apps like Wealthy are definitely the best places to find apartment. They're easier and you have a tons of options for all budgets. All right, off to the next location. The final advice that I would give you is to brace yourself. It might not be easy when you moved here. Your first encounter with the country will be at the airport, and I just want to prepare you. Not everybody might speak English, so you will have to prepare yourself. Either you can learn a bit of the language, or you can prepare a few sentences already translated. Rest assured that this first encounter is definitely not the first experience. Everybody's taking photos of me over here. I'm in a very photogenic spot and a lot of people are taking photos all over the place, so it hasn't been easy to shoot that part, but at the same time I really like this like arch background orange. I think like it pops out a lot in the video. But anyway, your first 24 hours might not be as dreamy as it could be. It is a total cultural difference, especially if you come from the West. It will get better. Stay open. Maybe one of the things that may shock you would be the way they speak. It may sound to you as aggressive, as rude, but it isn't. It's just a way to talk, so don't take it personally. If you have downloaded WeChat by then, you can now use WeChat to translate into conversation. So for example, if somebody sends you everything in Chinese and you want to translate in English, you can. And if you're responding to the other person in English, this will be translated in Chinese for them, which I found it super handy because that's how I talk to my landlord. That's how I speak with my IE. And there will be some things lost in translation, but just keep an open mind when it comes to the communication in general. It is very difficult to navigate through a language that you don't know. It's also the same for the person that you're talking with. If you're also downloading Alipay, you have the international version. There is actually a toggle on the side. Yeah, it can translate automatically everything from the mini program. I find it so useful because every time I want to order Chinese food, but that sometimes I don't have English translation, I just toggle that app and I know what I'm ordering and I don't need to take a screenshot, go to a translating app, translate everything. So this will help you navigate through the language barrier easily. China is supporting more and more tourism. They're really trying to implement things that makes easier for tourists to understand the culture and travel around more easily. There are plenty of countries that can come with a visa on arrival to China for 15 days without requesting a visa. So this is a huge change. And so I guess these are my tips and advices for you if you're moving to China very soon or are planning to travel to China. I hope you'll find it useful. If I am missing something or if you have more questions, please let me know in the comments. If you like this type of content, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to see more of it. Thank you so much for watching and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye bye!